The message arrived without warning. The Concordat, a union of aggressive alien species, appeared in Earth's skies with thousands of warships. They gave humans 24 hours to surrender or face extinction. Jin-Ho Park stood before the United Nations with a heavy heart. His uniform, once a symbol of pride, now seemed to weigh him down like armor. "We cannot defeat them," he said simply. "But we can survive. The evacuation begins now." Across Earth, panic spread like wildfire. Hyun-Soo worked tirelessly at the Seoul spaceport, directing civilians into any vessel capable of space travel. Passenger liners, cargo ships, private yachts, anything that could break atmosphere was pressed into service. "Take only what you can carry," Hyun-Soo told each group. "Leave room for others." In orbit, Jaemin watched the gathering Exodus fleet from the bridge of the military cruiser Defiance. Nearly 5,000 vessels of various sizes formed up, many never designed for long-distance travel. "We won't all make it," she told her first officer. "But those who do must carry humanity forward." The first Concordat bombardment began exactly 24 hours after their ultimatum. Great cities erupted in flames as alien weapons struck from orbit. The Exodus fleet launched under fire, Earth's remaining military vessels forming a protective screen. "Plot jump coordinates," Jaemin ordered. "Take us beyond charted space." Duyon watched from the civilian transport Genesis as Earth shrank in the view screen. Tears streamed down his face, but he made his children watch. "Remember," he told them. "Remember what we lost today." The Exodus fleet jumped to safety, but their journey had only begun. For years they traveled through unknown space, always one step ahead of Concordat hunters. Ships failed, resources dwindled, people died. Young Soo-min was born during the 3rd year of the journey, never knowing Earth except through stories. Her playground was the recycling deck of an old cargo hauler. Her toys were fashioned from spare parts. Her lullabies were engine hums. "Will we ever find a home?" she asked her father one night. "We will," he promised. "And one day we'll return to the home we lost." After 7 years in space, the fleet discovered a habitable planet beyond the reach of the Concordat. They named it Haven, a cold, rocky world with limited resources but breathable air and liquid water. The landing was not easy. Many ships crashed. Others could never land at all and remained in orbit, slowly converted into space stations. The survivors established a settlement in a sheltered valley and named it First Landing. Life on Haven proved harsh. The short growing season and poor soil made food production difficult. The long, bitter winters killed many during those first years. But humans adapted. They built greenhouses and developed hardy crops. They constructed underground dwellings to escape the cold. "We survive," became their unofficial motto. "We remember. We return." Military discipline kept the colony functioning. Resources were carefully managed. Every child received training in both practical skills and Earth history. The fleet's remaining weapons were maintained with religious care. "We are not settlers," Jin-Ho reminded the council when some suggested abandoning military readiness. "We are exiles. There is a difference." By the time Jin-Ho died, 15 years after landing on Haven, a new generation was coming of age. Children who had never seen Earth. Some questioned the elders' obsession with a lost planet. Others embraced it with fierce devotion. 3 generations passed. Earth became legend. The once mighty human civilization was reduced to a struggling colony of 40,000 souls. Young Yunwoo grew up listening to his grandfather's stories about Earth, about vast oceans and endless blue skies, about cities that stretched to the horizon and forests that covered entire continents. "Will we ever go back?" he asked. "Not in my lifetime," his grandfather answered. "Perhaps not in yours. But we will return." On the 30th anniversary of the landing, Haven's military leadership gathered in secret. The colony had survived, but survival was no longer enough. The time had come to look beyond Haven. "We need to know what has become of Earth," Jaemin said. She was old now, her hair white, but her eyes remained sharp. "We need to know if the Concordat still rules, if there are other human survivors, if return is possible." The council debated. through the night. By morning, they had made their decision. Haven would build a ship, one vessel with their best technology and bravest crew. Its mission? To return to Earth to gather intelligence and, if possible, to strike back. One ship against an empire, someone objected. Jaemin smiled for the first time in years. Sometimes, she said, one is enough. Jion walked through the massive underground facility, her footsteps echoing against metal floors. 15 years had passed since the council approved the Forge project. What had begun as a desperate dream was now taking physical form. Hard to believe it's almost finished, she said to Hajun, who walked beside her. Hajun nodded, his eyes fixed on the massive shape suspended in the center of the cavern. The Reckoning was unlike any ship humans had built before. Its dark hull absorbed light rather than reflected it. Its lines were predatory, threatening. Not just a ship, Hajun said quietly. A statement. Building the Reckoning had nearly broken Haven. For 15 years, the colony had diverted precious metals, fuel, and technical expertise to the secret facility beneath the northern mountains. Children went without new clothes. Meals grew smaller. Buildings remained unrepaired. Also, this one vessel could exist. Was it worth it? Some whispered in the community halls. One ship against an empire? Mireille believed it was. As chief weapons officer, she had spent a decade developing systems specifically designed to counter concordant technology. Her office walls were covered with diagrams and formulas, the product of thousands of hours of work. Their shields operate on a rotating frequency, she explained to a group of engineers. Our missiles adjust to match the frequency gap. Where they expect to be strong, they'll be vulnerable. The Reckoning incorporated salvaged alien technology from the Exodus fleet, reverse-engineered and improved by human innovation. Its engines could match any concordant vessel. Its stealth systems would make it nearly invisible to standard scanners. Its weapons were designed for precision rather than raw power. We can't defeat their entire fleet, Mireille often said. But we don't need to. We just need to hit them where it hurts. As construction neared completion, the question of command grew urgent. Who would lead this mission? Who would carry humanity's hopes back into enemy territory? The answer came in the form of Tae-hee Kim, granddaughter of the admiral who had led the original Exodus fleet. At 35, she had risen quickly through Haven's military ranks, known for her tactical brilliance and unshakable calm. Your grandmother saved what remained of humanity, Yunwoo told her when offering command. Now you may help us reclaim what we lost. Tae-hee stood before the ship for the first time, taking in its imposing presence. Unlike the desperate, cobbled-together vessels of the Exodus, the Reckoning had been built with a single purpose: to strike back. She's beautiful, Tae-hee whispered. Crew selection proved challenging. Everyone on Haven wanted to participate in the mission, to be part of humanity's first step toward reclaiming their heritage. But the Reckoning could only carry 100 personnel. I need the best, Tae-hee insisted. Not the most eager or the most decorated. The best. She chose Sang-min as her first officer, a quiet, thoughtful man whose analytical mind complemented her intuitive approach. Minji became diplomatic officer, fluent in the languages of 6 known alien species. Taehyun joined as chief engineer, having helped design the ship's innovative drive system. As launch day approached, the selected crew trained relentlessly in simulators. They studied old records of concordant tactics. They memorized star charts of systems they had never seen. They prepared for every contingency except failure. What are our mission parameters? Sang-min asked during one planning session. First, gather intelligence, Tae-hee replied. Learn what has become of Earth and the concordant. Second, establish contact with any resistance or surviving human enclaves. Third, identify concordant vulnerabilities. And if we find none? Someone, as Tae-hee's expression hardened, we create them. The night before launch, Haven's residents gathered for a ceremony unlike any in their history. The Reckoning had been moved to the surface, its dark hull gleaming under the stars. Nearly everyone in the colony attended, standing in the cold night air to witness this moment. We send this ship not just to observe but to act, Yunwoo told the crowd. Not just to remember but to reclaim. Tae-hee stepped forward, her uniform crisp against the night. "We carry your hopes with us," she said simply. "We will not fail." Later, alone in her quarters, Tae-hee opened a small wooden box, one of her few personal possessions. Inside lay a worn photograph of Earth, blue and beautiful, taken before the invasion. Her grandmother had carried it through the Exodus. "One ship," she whispered to herself. "One chance." At dawn, the Reckoning lifted silently from Haven's surface. Unlike conventional launches, there was no flame, no roar of engines, only a dark shape rising against the morning sky, then vanishing. Standing on a hilltop, Ha-jun watched until the ship disappeared from view. 15 years of his life had gone into its creation. Now it was gone, carrying with it the future of humanity. "Good hunting," he said softly to the empty sky. The Reckoning moved silently through the darkness of space, its hull absorbing light and sensor scans alike. Captain Tae-hee Kim stood on the bridge, watching as her ship approached the outer boundary of what had once been human territory. "Concordat patrol detected," Sang-min reported from his station. "2 light cruisers. They haven't noticed us." "Keep distance," Tae-hee ordered. "Record their communications." For 3 weeks, the Reckoning shadowed Concordat vessels, gathering intelligence while remaining undetected. The crew worked in hushed excitement, analyzing the data that flowed in. What they discovered surprised them all. "The Concordat is fracturing," Tae-hee told her officers during a briefing. 3 major factions are competing for control. Their unity is breaking down. The ship's intelligence officer, Yuna, displayed intercepted communications on the main screen. "They've grown complacent. They believe humans are extinct or fully subjugated." "They're wrong," Tae-hee said simply. The discovery came during their 4th week in Concordat space. While monitoring transmissions from a research station near the Antares sector, the crew intercepted messages about human specimens and breeding programs. "Some of us survived," Sang-min whispered, his voice tight with emotion. "They're being held in research facilities." Tae-hee's face hardened. "Locate those facilities. Mark them as priority targets." The Reckoning pushed deeper into enemy territory, moving from system to system like a ghost. They observed Concordat military bases, shipyards, and command centers. They cataloged weaknesses and patrol patterns, and they listened to official channels, to civilian networks, to the whispers between the stars. "There's something else out there," Minji reported one day. "Encrypted transmissions using old trade languages, not Concordat standard." "Resistance?" Tae-hee asked. "Possibly. The patterns suggest a network spanning multiple systems." Tae-hee made her decision. Make contact. Establishing communication with the resistance proved difficult. Years of Concordat oppression had taught them caution, but Minji persisted, sending coded messages through obscure channels until finally receiving a response. "They want proof we're really human," she told Tae-hee, "and they want to know our capabilities. Then we'll show them," Tae-hee replied. The Reckoning altered course toward a small Concordat outpost, a monitoring station with minimal defenses, perfect for demonstration purposes. "Weapons ready," reported Myray from Tactical. "Target locked." "Fire." The Reckoning's attack was swift and precise. Concentrated energy beams sliced through the station's shields. Guided missiles targeted communication arrays. In less than 2 minutes, the outpost was disabled without being destroyed. "Broadcast on the resistance frequency," Tae-hee ordered. "Tell them. Humanity sends regards." The response came 3 days later. Coordinates for a meeting in a remote asteroid field. The Reckoning arrived first, hiding among the tumbling rocks. Hours passed before a small, battered vessel appeared. "One life form aboard," Sang-min reported. "Not human." The alien called itself Kovu, a member of the trillion species that had been among the first conquered by the Concordat. Its skin was pale blue, its 4 eyes blinking in different patterns as it studied the humans before it. "We thought your kind extinct," Kovu said through a translator. "Yet here you are with technology the Concordat does not possess." "We survived," Tehi replied simply. Now we've returned. Kovu shared what the Resistance knew, information that painted a clearer picture of the galaxy. The Concordat controlled hundreds of worlds but faced growing unrest. Subject species were beginning to rebel. Resources were stretched thin. And Earth? Tehi asked. Your homeworld is now their military headquarters, a fortress planet guarded by their largest fleet. The news struck the crew hard. Reclaiming Earth seemed impossible, but Tehi saw opportunity in this revelation. The head of the snake, she murmured. Cut it off. Through Kovu, the Reckoning established contact with resistance cells throughout Concordat space. They shared technology, intelligence, and, most importantly, hope. One ship? An alien resistance? Leader asked during a secure transmission. What can one ship accomplish against an empire? In answer, Tehi led the Reckoning on a series of precise strikes against Concordat supply depots. Each attack was carefully planned to appear as if executed by different vessels. They would strike, then vanish before reinforcements arrived. Word spread through underground channels. Humans had returned with ships that could defeat Concordat defenses. The legend grew with each successful mission. They believe we're a fleet, Sangmin noted after intercepting Concordat military communications. They're searching for phantom ships. Tehi smiled slightly. Good. Let fear do our work for us. 6 months into their mission, the Reckoning penetrated deep into Concordat territory and made a discovery that changed everything. On a small moon used as a labor camp, they found humans, descendants of those left behind during the Exodus. We never forgot, an old woman told them, her eyes filled with tears. We always believed someone would come back for us. That night, Tehi stood alone in her quarters looking at the worn photograph of Earth. What had begun as a mission of intelligence gathering had become something more, a crusade. We're coming home, she whispered to the image. All of us. Sangmin studied the Concordat reports displayed on his screen with growing satisfaction. They're convinced we have at least 12 warships, he told Tehi. Their security forces are chasing shadows across 3 sectors. Tehi nodded, pleased. The Ghost Fleet strategy was working better than she had hoped. For the past 3 months, the Reckoning had been conducting a campaign of strategic strikes against Concordat facilities, never staying in one place long enough to be caught. Let's give them more ghosts to chase, she said. The plan had been Daehyun's idea. The engineer had developed small beacon devices that, when activated, broadcast signals mimicking old Earth military transmissions. Each beacon created the electronic signature of a human warship. Plant the next series here, here, and here, Tehi instructed, marking points on the star chart. Make them think we're gathering for a major strike. The Reckoning slipped into the Proxima shipyards under cover of a meteor shower. Outside, Daehyun worked quickly in his spacesuit, attaching a beacon to the underside of an orbital platform. When activated, it would make Concordat sensors detect a human battle cruiser where none existed. Beacon planted, he reported, pushing away from the platform and back toward the ship. Timer set for 18 hours. Good work, Tehi responded. Return to ship. Meanwhile, Minji coordinated with resistance cells throughout Concordat space. Timing was critical. When the beacons activated, resistance forces would launch simultaneous attacks on minor Concordat outposts. The illusion must be perfect, Tehi explained to her officers. They must believe they face a coordinated invasion by multiple human vessels, not a single ship and some desperate rebels. The strategy worked brilliantly. Concordat forces responded to phantom attacks across their territory, stretching their resources thin. Every time they arrived with overwhelming force, they found nothing but empty space. The human fleet had already moved on. Paranoia infected the Concordat command structure. Reports of human warships came from everywhere. Security protocols became increasingly strict. Ships fired on friendly vessels, mistaking them for human infiltrators. They're turning against each other, Yuna reported after intercepting internal Concordat communications. The 3 factions are accusing each other of fabricating the human threat to gain political advantage. Tehi smiled. Fear is doing our work for us. The Reckoning's next target was a major Concordate research facility in the Deneb system. Intelligence from the Resistance indicated it housed dozens of human captives used for biological experiments. "We take this one directly," Tehi announced. "No ghosts, just us." The attack was swift and surgical. Mireille's weapons targeted the facility's power core and defensive systems. Within minutes, the Reckoning had created a breach in the station's outer hull. A strike team led by Sang Min entered through the gap. Inside, they found 37 humans, in various states of health. Some had been born in captivity, never knowing freedom. Others were older, captured during the fall of Earth or from colony worlds. "Who are you?" asked one woman, her eyes wide with disbelief at seeing human rescuers. "We're the Ghost Fleet," Sang Min replied, helping her to her feet. "Come with us." The rescued humans brought valuable intelligence about Concordate operations and weaknesses. More importantly, they brought hope, living proof that humanity was striking back. Tehi decided to take the strategy further. The Reckoning began broadcasting old Earth military transmissions during its attacks. Battle commands, fleet movements, coordinates, all designed to create the impression of multiple vessels operating in coordination. "Transmit on their emergency channels," she ordered during an attack on a fuel depot. "Make sure every Concordate ship in the sector hears us." The psychological impact was devastating. Concordate commanders reported human warships that didn't exist. Supply lines were disrupted as vessels refused to leave defended positions. Military resources were diverted to protect facilities that weren't under actual threat. Meanwhile, resistance movements grew bolder. On a dozen worlds, oppressed species rose up against their Concordate overlords, inspired by stories of the human ghost fleet. "It's working," Sangmin said one night as he and Tehi reviewed intelligence reports. "The Concordate is coming apart at the seams, but their success brought new dangers." The Concordate Supreme Command had placed a massive bounty on any confirmed information about human vessels. Hunter ships patrolled known ambush points. The Reckoning's movements became increasingly restricted. "They're adapting," Mireille warned. "Each mission becomes riskier than the last." During an operation near the Arcturus system, the Reckoning nearly met disaster. 3 Concordate warships detected their engine signature and gave chase. For 6 hours, Tehi led her ship through a dangerous asteroid field, using the tumbling rocks as cover. "We can't keep this up forever," Daehyun said after the narrow escape. "Sooner or later our luck will run out." Tehi knew he was right. The Ghost Fleet strategy had been successful beyond their hopes, but it wasn't enough. To truly change the balance of power, they needed something more decisive. That night, studying reports about Concordate fleet movements, she noticed a pattern. "They're pulling ships back to Earth," she realized, "concentrating their forces to protect against what they believe is our main target." She called her officers together. "It's time for the final phase," she told them. "We're going to Earth." Earth hung in the viewport like a blue jewel wrapped in metal. Tehi had seen images all her life, but nothing prepared her for the reality. Her ancestral home was now encased in Concordate defense platforms and orbital stations. Thousands of enemy warships formed a protective shell around the planet. "It's exactly as we predicted," she said quietly. "They've concentrated their fleet here, expecting a massive human attack." "One that doesn't exist," Sangmin added. Tehi smiled slightly. "Until now." For 3 weeks, the Reckoning had moved through nearby systems, gathering resistance vessels. The resulting fleet was a strange collection. 47 ships of various sizes and designs crewed by 6 different species. Not the overwhelming force the Concordate feared, but dangerous in an entirely different way. "They expect us to attack with superior firepower," Tehi explained to the Allied commanders. "Instead, we attack with truth." Daehyun had spent months collecting evidence from Concordate secure networks, proof of crimes committed by leadership against their own people, records of betrayals between factions, evidence of lies told to maintain power. The coalition that had conquered Earth was built on deception. "Is the package ready?" Tehi asked. The engineer nodded. "Ready for broadcast on all Concordate frequencies." And our special payload? Mireille gestured to a display showing hundreds of small objects clustered in the ship's launch bay. Data bombs ready for deployment. Each contains the complete information package and a short-range transmitter. Tae-hee took a deep breath. Begin Operation Daybreak. The Reckoning moved toward Earth, its advanced stealth systems keeping it hidden until the last possible moment. When they reached optimal range, Tae-hee gave the order. Launch data bombs. From the ship's bay, hundreds of small projectiles scattered in all directions, each programmed to attach to a concordant vessel. At the same time, the reckoning began, broadcasting on all military and civilian frequencies. The message reached every concordant vessel simultaneously. Video footage of leaders betraying allies. Financial records showing massive theft of resources. Orders for atrocities against civilian populations. Proof that the war against humanity had been started not for security, but for profit. First wave, break formation, and proceed to your targets. Tae-hee commanded the resistance fleet. As they moved, she sent a second message, this one aimed at Haven. Exile is ended. Earth awaits. Chaos erupted among the concordant fleet. Some ships turned against others. Some remained loyal to their commanders. Many simply stopped responding. Their crews paralyzed by confusion and doubt. Their communication network is collapsing, reported Yuna. Ships are acting independently without central command. The Reckoning targeted Earth's orbital defense grid, its weapons systematically disabling key nodes. The resistance fleet pushed through gaps in the concordant formation, heading for the planet's surface. We're being hailed, Minji announced, suddenly. From Earth. The view screen activated to show an elderly human woman, her face lined with age but her eyes sharp and clear. This is Governor Seo of Earth Underground. Who am I addressing? Tae-hee stepped forward. Captain Tae-hee Kim of the Warship Reckoning from Haven Colony. Tears formed in the old woman's eyes. Haven survived. We had hoped, but never knew for certain. We did more than survive, Tae-hee replied. We're coming home. The battle for Earth lasted 3 days. Not all concordant forces surrendered. Some fought to the end, particularly those whose crimes had been exposed in the data broadcast. But without unified leadership, their resistance crumbled. On the third day, Tae-hee stood on Earth's surface, for the first time. She had landed in what had once been Seoul, now rebuilt as a concordant administrative center. The air smelled different than on Haven, richer, warmer, filled with life. It's strange, she told Sang-min as they walked through the ruined city. I've never been here before, yet it feels like I'm returning. Earth's human population had survived in hidden enclaves, in slave colonies, and resistance cells. They emerged, now tens of thousands joining the liberation forces. Many wept at the sight of humans from Haven, the descendants of those who had escaped. How many made it to Haven? Asked one old man who remembered the exodus. 40,000, Tae-hee told him. Our population is near 60,000 now. So few, he whispered. From billions. Enough, she replied firmly. Enough to return. 1. Week after the Reckoning's arrival, Tae-hee stood atop a hill overlooking the reclaimed city. Concordant structures were being dismantled. Human flags flew again. Ships from Haven were already on their way, carrying the first wave of colonists, returning to their ancestral home. Sang-min joined her, holding a communication device. Message from resistance forces in the Arcturus sector. 3 more concordant worlds have declared independence. It's only beginning, Tae-hee said. The Empire is crumbling. She took out the worn photograph of Earth that had belonged to her grandmother. For generations, it had been a reminder of loss. Now it was something else. A promise fulfilled. Humanity's exile began with the arrival of 1,000 warships, she said quietly. And it ended with the arrival of one.